This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening all. I'm Shashima Roll as always. It is so great to have you with us. Topping news, cruise arrivals to Grand Bahama are expected to climb as the Grand Celebration is now back in service. The service between the port of Palm Beach and Freeport came to a halt in October following the passing of Hurricane Matthew. But the ship returned to Grand Bahama this past weekend, bringing with it the promise of improved business in the months ahead. Italia Hall reports.
The cruise ship that belongs to a multi-million-dollar company went to the island of Bimini back in October of last year due to the economic challenges on Grand Bahama as a result of Hurricane Matthew. To mark its official return on Saturday, the ship had a total of 1,520 passengers on board and were all welcomed with a special junket and rush out outside of the Freeport harbor. Director of Business Development for Bahamas Paradise Cruise Line, David Johnson, says the variety of tour options on Grand Bahama is far greater and it feels good to be back home.
Bimini was a godsend for us in terms of a place that we can get to. It was a bit challenging with the tendering that we had to do, the absence of the infrastructure that we have here in Grand Bahama, but it enabled us to continue operation.
Johnson says they are completely sold out this week with some 1,800 passengers. He adds that there's now a number of new agreements with the various hotels on the island.
The Grand Lucayan is our preferred partner, and they're being short of inventory by almost 70% was the challenge. As a result of that, we are sending our business to other hotels, but we have a solid block at the Lighthouse Point. We're using the hotels next door. We're using Viva Fortuna. In fact, we're using practically all of the hotels in Grand Bahama at this stage.
Director of the Ministry of Tourism, Grand Bahama, Betty Bethel, says this means well for the tourism industry.
Economically, it means a dent has been filled that was left in our economy when they pulled out. What is obviously next is to get 100% of our occupancy back on stream. At this point, we're slightly under 50%.
Johnson says for the first 30 days that they're back, they will be offering a special for Bahamians.
The deal is they're going to get their bins half price, they're getting their cabins at the usual discount. All in all, they're able to go to Florida per person, shop and bring their goods in a bin on our ship for less than the cost per person of a round-trip airfare.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
In other news, a private institution for higher learning is celebrating a major victory. The college was faced with a legal battle for the past several months that negatively impacted the operations. Well, tonight, officials say they can now get on with the business of educating Bahamians. Sabrina Brown has more.
Tarave College has articulation agreements with several tertiary institutions abroad. They were asked by the Public Service to renegotiate those agreements for a 4-year period within 21 days. After the college did not meet that deadline, a statement was released in June of last year saying that Tarave was no longer approved by the department, which is responsible for government workers.
It was written to them to give us some time, and they said 21 days. And you don't go back and negotiate with a foreign institution within 21 days. And so you began to wonder what was the purpose of all of this.
During a press conference Tuesday afternoon, officials announced that after months before the courts, Tarave won its case against the Public Service. Executive Chairman of Tarave, Dr. Donald McCartney, is happy with the outcome.
And I believe one of the things that gave Tarave the edge was the fact that the justice felt that the department was unreasonable in the time frame that they gave for the changes. Another matter that came out of this was that the department felt that there were many private institutions who were putting out substandard students. But I feel the solution might have been in that case to call forward those institutions who were guilty of putting out substandard students and deal with them.
He says the college was asked to do some things officials thought were unreasonable.
One of them was, for example, that all institutions with whom they were associated or articulated, they ought to have their logo on their degrees. Well, that's just not the way it is done. Our premier institution now, the University of the Bahamas, has had and still has articulation agreements with other institutions. But if you look at any degrees that they put out, you don't see any other institution's logo on the University of the Bahamas' certificates or their degrees.
But Dr. McCartney says this ruling does not take away the authority of the Department of Public Service.
That is not to say that the Department of Public Service cannot change its policy. Yes, it can. Indeed, it can. But what the Justice is saying is you must give all institutions impacted or affected sufficient time to make those adjustments.
Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
So on the education beat, an organization that has helped to shape and mold the lives of countless young people is marking a major milestone. Founded some 25 years ago, the West Grand Bahama Youth Development Association continued to have a positive impact throughout the various communities. During a press conference held at the Total Education Center in Hawksville, co-founder Fred Delancey outlined the importance of the celebrations.
In commemoration of its 25th anniversary, West Grand Bahama Youth Development Association will coordinate major events throughout the year, at least one each month. Under the patronage of the Honorable Perry Gladstone Christie, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, West Grand Bahama Youth Development Association will host its first set of activities on Sunday, January 29th, starting with the church service, 11 a.m. at Zion Baptist Church, 8 Mile Rock. The pastor is Reverend Lindy Russell. Immediately following the service, the 8 Mile Rock Library will be rededicated and will be named after the late Reverend Wilbur Ouden. God rest his soul. At 2 p.m., the celebration will move to the 8 Mile Rock Gymnasium, where a special luncheon and exhibition will be held.
Another co-founder, Reverend Lindy Russell, says the organization holds the anniversary celebrations, honor will be paid to a fallen son of the soil.
In charge that was Pastor Wilbur Outen. But even before he passed, we had this in the plans that we wanted to rename it in his honor, because he was the head of the Pastors Forum. That was an initiative by the Pastor Forum. So I'd like to say on behalf of my wife and I want to offer our sympathy to the family of Pastor Wilbur in his passing. Also, on behalf of my church family, Mount Zion Baptist Church, and on behalf of the West Grand Bahama Youth Development Association, also, and the Pastors Forum, we want to express our sympathy to a giant of a man, Pastor Wilbur Outen, who was instrumental in many things that people may not be aware of. I consider him to be a national hero of the first order.
Switching gears now, a man is dead following an industrial accident at the port over in Marsh Harbor, Abaco. Now, the details surrounding this tragic incident are not known at this time. Police are currently on the scene conducting an investigation, and we will have further details as the information becomes available. Stay with us. There's more news right after this.